Good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. As a reminder to our newer listeners, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. So today, we might be geeking out a little bit about health. And yes, that's the first domain in my priority list as a reminder for newer listeners and long-term listeners is that if you don't have your health, what are you doing? I'll keep it that simple. We're all about fueling your health, your business, and fueling your lifestyle. They align in all three domains. We don't always have to talk about business. I'm excited today, though, ladies and gents. I have a new guest co-host for you, and this gentleman's got a more unique background than most. We're gonna have fun with this. Okay, we've had biohackers. We've had. I was telling Tom here. I'll get to know me in a second. I've had scientists, I've had DNA experts, I've had biohacking, blue blocker glass companies, which by the way, I have like glasses here from 3 different companies. So I have plenty of swag. And I love talking about energy too. So there's lots of doctors who have come on and also, non-doctors about circadian rhythm, right? All these different elements of life that can align from an energy perspective. So there's your key word, ladies and gentlemen, energy. So today we might be talking about something called scalar light. I never heard this term before until getting to know this gentleman. But there's some connectivity back to, you might have heard of Tesla. Well, before Tesla was a thing, there might have been a guy in history by the name of Nikola Tesla. Okay, so we might have some history tied in here. But let me give you a quick background on the guy. Let's get to know each other. So he's a researcher. He's a humanitarian, all about seeking to make a difference in the world by providing people with education, which is the point of podcasting, people, education and tools to restore optimal health. Okay. Optimal health. Well, we're going to get into that too, because a lot of people define health in a different way, but it's about helping them enhance their quality of life. So he began to research scalar energy, and that's why we're bringing him on today, because I want to understand more of it along with you all. I did the website research, right? I ran into the social media stuff, but you got to talk to the experts, and that's why we bring guest co-hosts on. So I'll do some screen sharing later for the video watchers. But again, if you want a short circuit right to the fast thing, go check out scalarlight.com, SCAL as Larry AR light.com. But we'll talk about that more now. So Tom Paladino, let's dive in, man. Guest co-host of the Today for Live the Fuel show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Scott. What an introduction.
I like energy.
I guess so.
That's there might some people are short on it. If you talk to my wife, I have an excess of it. So sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love energy also. Why? It's the fundament of the universe. It's the driving force of the universe. It's light, energy. Nothing supersedes that. It's the first principle. So people who make that statement, they realize that they're at the very center point of all activity. It's light.
Okay, I love that. So let's dive right into the light. Let's talk about energy too, but obviously you're a geek also about electromagnetic spectrum, right? There's so many components in that. We're going to geek out, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to geek out right away. Let's just get into geeking out. Help people understand who don't understand the electromagnetic spectrum. Real quick, and you might appreciate this. I actually geek out a little bit on talking about that because one of my biggest contracts, I do a lot of sales and marketing consultations as a consultant, and one of my clients' biggest factories that she works with is a UV light spectrum company for the HVAC industry, for cleaning up your air, killing airborne bacteria and surface level bacteria and viruses, etc. Right? And I learned all about that. Not all UV is created equal. For example, their products are specifically using a lamp at 254 nanometers. So there you go. That's my best geeking out just to get in with you on the electromagnetic spectrum. So why don't you jump in on that and be more of the expert, sir?
Okay. Well, there's I'm going to, if you will, set the tone. There's 2 energies in the universe: scalar energy and electromagnetic energy.
Okay.
I've made a career at scalar energy because I believe it's far superior to that of electromagnetic energy. So when we speak of UV light, when we speak to the visible spectrum, gamma rays, etc., X-rays, that's part of the electromagnetic spectrum that I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
I believe in the other energy, which is scalar energy, that's from the stars. It's a different dimension.
Okay.
Nikola Tesla realized this. Initially, Tesla began his career with AC electricity. He abandoned the pursuit of electricity for deference for scalar energy. Why? It's far superior. It's the perpetual state. So if you've ever heard of perpetual energy, it's scalar energy. It's not electricity.
Oh.
And I follow in the footsteps of Tesla, and I agree with him that scalar energy is the way to go. That what we discovered with electricity was our, if you will, our baptism into the world of energy. But it's not going to be the final frontier. The final frontier is with this perfect energy that never experiences entropy.
Well, I like where we're going with this, because let's pause for the people not at your level, sir. You quickly slid in there AC, right? So AC voltage. So you might appreciate this. When I was in high school, I went to a technology school. So I was only in a regular high school half the day, and I was studying microelectronics technology. So I started at the DC level, then moved up to the AC level, then moved to the digital, and then the microprocessor level. So this is all back in the late 90s. So I could geek out a little bit. But to your point, I'm not playing with scalar energy. That's why I was excited for today. I'm like, oh man, I'm going back 20 years. I can geek out and find out of a whole different thing that I ever thought about before. Because when night falls, we're no longer looking at the sun, to your point, right? That's everything else, electromagnetic spectrum. And then we see stars, right? They're obviously emanating light from millions of miles away. It's a different color per se, right?
Yeah.
It's, if you just want to simplify it, white versus yellow or white versus orange. So we're obviously, we as a species need the sun. Everybody talks about that. So would you say that we also need the scalar energy?
It's essential. Our scalar energy is actually the primary energy of the universe. Sadly, academia has never embraced that.
Why?
If this is the energy from the sun and the stars, it's the initial energy of the universe. Sadly, academia only looks at the secondary energy, which is the derivative, which is electricity, magnetism. So what I'm saying that these two energies coincide. On planet Earth, you'll find scalar energy, you'll find electromagnetic energy. Okay. The problem is scalar energy is so subtle, it's so esoteric. Nobody's been able to measure it, and perhaps because there's not a basic unit. If it's all pervasive, if it's the spirit of God or consciousness, as some people say, there is no basic unit. You cannot measure scalar energy.
Okay. So then, through your research, have we yet to find or possibly be getting closer to a way to, per se, measure it?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, nobody has. There's no meter, there's no gauge. And I predict there will never be a gauge, because this energy is everywhere in the universe. So what am I saying? This, what some people might call the matrix, or the blanket of the universe, or the presence of God, or some people call it 0-point energy. It's everywhere. Now, electricity is a flow of electrons, or the presence of a magnetic field. You can measure that in Gauss. There is no basic unit. There is no fundamental unit for scalar energy. It's universal. It's everywhere. It's everywhere instantaneously. Exactly. But it's ubiquitous to the point that we miss it. Tesla didn't miss it. And
well, so we're walking power plants, are we not?
We are.
Okay. So then obviously we are composed of scalar energy, right? We're self-sustaining per se. I mean, obviously you have to fuel the fire, part of my branding, right? You got to have proper nutrition, proper circadian rhythm, proper sleep cycles to keep that process repurposing, recycling, and et cetera. But we are power plants at the cellular level. The mitochondria of our cells is where that energy is.
Exactly. Scalar energy creates DNA. So what are we? We are embodied scalar energy. We are scalar energy beings.
Okay.
Now, if all of this is true and accurate, then we have discovered what Nikola Tesla would call the wheelwork of the universe, meaning it's not an extension of the universe, it's the actual fundament that drives, that promotes the universe. So then we become this energy field, and then it's unlimited what we can do. We control nature. We control nature.
So Nikola obviously is I mean, I've actually been out to Buffalo, New York, been to Niagara, right? So there's monuments to this guy all over the place. Anybody who talks about energy power plants like Niagara, you're going to see a Tesla statue, right? So obviously he was way ahead of his time. We already know that. But why isn't there not more documented from him on the scalar energy route? Just because, to your point, he never could find a way to measure it. It was everywhere. So he decided to focus on things that were more acceptable.
Well, Tesla began his career with AC electricity, and he garnered the attention of Westinghouse, Morgan, and the power brokers. And they wanted to pick his brain so that they could use this technology to make money. They wanted industry.
Sure.
Later in his career, Tesla started developing scalar energy towers, one in Long Island, New York, that tapped the stars, the universe, for free energy. When the power brokers, when the robber barons caught wind of that Tesla was capturing star energy, free energy, a smear campaign began. And they
as a marketing pro, I get it.
Okay.
Right? Like there's good and bad marketing. And obviously, like a lot of things happening in society, in the world, decade after decade, follow the money. And to your point, exactly. Right? If you got a lot of money, you can control the influence of the money. And if there's somebody out there trying to make sure you can't make the money off of it, they're going to shut that down. Yes. Which is what you're saying.
That's what happened to Tesla. His AC career was illustrious, and he was financed, and he was promoted, and rightfully so. But when he started getting into free energy, it was such an intimidation to the Rockefellers and the Morgans. They cut off all of his funding. And from that point, he's considered just a footnote in history. Well, by design, academia did not pay attention to him because they were told not to pay attention to him.
Okay. I could go a whole different segue on the nutritional world right now on that exact subject, right?
Yes.
Follow the money. Drug companies need sick people. And there's a difference between healthy and sick people. The healthy people like me became their own N1 experiment, realized that food pyramids, all this crap, it's all being funded by the money. Because it's like, oh, wait a minute. Sugar industry's got billions of dollars. Pharmaceutical industry loves the sugar industry because it keeps people sick. I can go down a whole different path there, but we won't. I have had plenty of other podcasts where we've done
that. Well, that's a corollary to what we're saying. Tesla was on the verge of giving the world free energy. Tesla actually developed a car that ran on solar power, scalar energy, star power.
That was scalar energy?
Yeah, he retrofitted a car, a Pierce Arrow. He took out the combustion engine, he put in a scalar energy engine, and he just had to have an antenna that captured this atmospheric energy.
Okay.
Tesla had a free energy car, He was very successful.
They're definitely not going to like that.
Yeah, no, he demonstrated, you're right, in Buffalo, New York, and it worked flawlessly.
Yeah.
But why aren't we using his free energy car? Well, it's kind of obvious. There's no money in it for the oil companies.
Interesting. So how do you harness? So we can't measure it. Obviously, he had methodology to figure out how to use an antenna technology to. And that's how many years ago. So we obviously have even more powerful technology today that could be harvesting or harnessing, per se, scalar energy at a much higher level. Are we not?
Yeah, exactly. So how do we harness it? Well, you have to have instrumentation. I have an instrumentation that can capture scalar energy. So I'm not capturing a movement of electrons.
Okay.
I'm actually capturing this life force energy from the sun and the stars. They're unique instruments, but it can be done.
And obviously, per Tesla in that car, you can harness it and you can then utilize it as an energy source to fuel processes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Tesla considered it to be the kinetic energy of the universe, and he's right. So instead of building a power plant, instead of having substations, all you need is the power plant of the stars.
Right.
The infrastructure already exists. You just tap into the stars. I know this is difficult for people to grasp, but forget the oil, forget the gas, forget the electrical wires, forget the substation. The power plant are the stars.
So do you even need to technically, if it's truly everywhere, right? Do you even need storage cells?
No. No, a
So
very
we're talking
good
about like
point.
real time, like from
Yes,
point of capture to
yes,
execution. It's just
yes,
real time fuel.
yes, exactly. It's a never-ending, perpetual source of energy, of animated power. Exactly.
So has anybody else since Tesla tried to go mainstream?
Thomas Moray, an inventor out of Salt Lake City, he developed free energy instruments that can illuminate light bulbs. He just captured this ambient energy. And then my predecessor, a man by the name of Galen Hieronymus was so successful, he was actually able to levitate objects with scalar energy and create an anti-gravity field. Long
Wow.
and short, long and short, these men do exist. They're sadly footnotes in history and by design. I'm trying to resurrect their work.
Well, obviously, it sounds like they truly were trying to create something that became a legacy that would benefit all of mankind.
Yes, that's the
But,
key.
and I hate to throw the word of greed in there, but let's just look at that. We are in a capitalistic country. Uh, we don't like that because you can't. How do you harness that? I mean, now to be fair, you can. I mean, somebody can manufacture the antennas that would
Yes,
capture and utilize it, right? So there is a billable product, right?
yes,
But is
yes.
it? Let me guess. The technology is probably so simple they're not going to make a lot of money off of
Exactly. It's
that.
so simple and straightforward. You know, my instruments capture that omnipresent scalar energy, and I can build this to scale. Whereas my instrument can work with 1 million people a day. So it's not this, if you will, this gigantic infrastructure that we're so akin to with electromagnetic energy.
Hmm.
It's pennies on the dollar in operation. It's much smaller to scale, maybe to scale 10,000 to 1. And one person, myself, can operate this instrument.
Okay. So you're resurrecting the history of this, which has been kept under wraps. And
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, this is not one of those shows where we're in the foil hats. Okay, we're talking about science here. I mean, Tesla's documented as being legit. So where can this go? I mean, because since scalar energy is everywhere,
Mhm.
and it can be possibly easy to harvest and instantaneously real time be utilized, right? So now
Yes.
we're not having to worry. Because here's a great example. My new car I bought last August, I decided to try out hybrid technology. I have a Toyota Highlander, SUV hybrid, right? But I still have fuel combustion, but it self charges. I don't have to plug it in, right? Because you're going below a certain speed, the harvesting motors off of the axles while braking will grab energy, yada yada yada. To your point, I wouldn't need any of that.
You're right. You would not. You would not.
So I already know there's technology now that I forget who did this, that they have found a way at the paint coating level of a vehicle to harvest solar energy, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing the collection at the microwatt or milliwatt, whatever it is, level is probably not enough, right? Like once the sun
Yes.
sets, you're done. You haven't
Right.
harvested or stored enough energy. You're eventually going to run out of power.
Yeah.
But to your point, scalar energy from the stars,
Correct.
it's always there. Doesn't matter if
It's
it's
always there.
daytime, quote,
Correct.
ladies and gentlemen, I'm using air quotes because I'm on video. Daytime versus nighttime, it doesn't matter
Yes.
because the sun is only one entity out there, whereas their stars are millions of stars.
Yes. We're flooded with scalar energy. And regardless of the time of the day or the seasons, we are flooded with this energy.
Okay.
So this is free energy. I can't accentuate that enough. AC electricity you have to produce, you have to harness it. It's difficult. All you have to do is to, if you will, capture scalar energies. So instead of building a power plant, the power plant are the stars. Instead of having to have wires to deliver this energy or substations, it already exists. The atmosphere is the grid system. So at pennies on the dollar, you have a ready-made perpetual grid of energy.
Okay. So you actually have the ability to grab this energy.
Yes.
Or how are you utilizing it today? Are you just doing it for research? Where are we at? What are you allowed to do? That's the other thing. Like, here's the other. I have so many questions. Is it per se as, for example, I love how people say the sun is dangerous. Okay, depending on how you want to talk about it. But if the sun went away, we would. Here, actually, well, here's another question. Let's create a question on top of a question. If the sun was gone tomorrow, and if scalar energy was everywhere, it's in our DNA, RNA level, would we still survive?
No, if the universe was devoid of scalar energy, the universe would cease to exist.
Okay, but if the sun went away,
our sun,
which is a star, it is a star, but there's other stars out there, which means the scalar energy is sustained. It's just our closest, supposedly life-giving sun is gone.
Yeah, like it would obviously change the terrain of the Earth, but there would still be ambient scalar energy from the infinite number of stars. Yes, I agree. So
I was saying, do we have evidence to show that? Could we still survive as a species?
That'd be hard. I don't know.
I know, right? Because we don't know
without the sun.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I'm just very intrigued because also people like I'm an anti-sunblock guy. Including a lot of other scientists I've had on the show. Like, I don't want the chemicals being absorbed into my skin. Here's a little tip, ladies and gentlemen. If you see your skin or you feel it getting warm and it's turning, just put some clothing on. Why shellac yourself with chemicals? Because I want that absorption. I'm happier and more energized, allowing that energy exposure into my body. To your point, on scalar energy, I wonder if sunblock is possibly also preventing that absorption as well. But maybe not, because you said it's perpetually everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anything from my studies, I don't think anything prevents scalar energy. It's everywhere instantaneously.
Yeah. It's air.
If it's already there, you can't prevent something that's already there.
Okay. Well, let's then. All right. So, because I have so many questions. How can we use this? Since obviously the theme is health, right? How do we use this to impact the health industry? Now, I know part of your background, I was researching things about microbes. I'm like, ooh, what are we going on here? What's going on? Because again, I was giving up that example about UV from the electromagnetic spectrum, and we're talking about using that to kill bacteria and viruses, which has been proven. But to your point, scalar energy is different. So how do we do that?
Yeah, it is. So my instruments allow me to have mastery over molecular forms. That's one of the observations. So I work with a scalar energy instrument that works with people by way of a photograph. Now I'm holding my photograph up to demonstrate. My photograph has an energy field, a scalar energy field. Okay. I never work with people. I work with their energetic form or a photograph.
Okay.
And in so doing, when I place a photograph of a person inside my instrument can connect with that person as a cell phone can connect. Okay. So instead of communicating by way of a cell phone or a radio, etc., or a GPS unit, I connect by the interface of the photograph. And in so doing, my instrument can detect microbes, viruses, bacteria, parasites in my quantum field and destroy them.
Okay.
So the other energy instrument can look at my quantum field, my information field, identify a virus and destroy it.
Now, again, there's people listening to this. If you've never read, and 10 years ago, I would have been like, what are we talking about right now? Because the quantum energy field is not a entry-level discussion topic. It's not an entry-level even thought process. It's very deep, right? We're talking, this is beyond physics, people. And I will say, like, the first time, I'm sure you probably heard of this, right? The first time I ever watched or read the book or the movie, The Secret, and they had quantum experts mixed into that, cast on there too. I was like, what am I hearing right now? And again, at the quantum level, this is a whole different level of normal. I mean, how do you simplify? I mean, just throwing a photograph up, people hearing this right now, like, is this guy crazy? Like, so how do we simplify this? How do we help people understand what we're talking about here at the quantum level? I know I'm asking you to simplify quantum energy.
if scalar energy is everywhere, then it's a perfect information system. And it is. And I can access a person by way of their photograph. In other words, a person bilocates by way of their photograph. Okay. Now, remember, I want this to be easy and simple. Instead of bringing 1 billion people into my laboratory, I'd rather bring 1 billion people into my laboratory by way of their photograph, because we can treat millions of people at a time.
Okay.
So we transcend time and space.
So the
One of my
process of taking a photograph of somebody, so you're not doing a special photograph. This is any photograph, right?
any
Because,
email photograph.
well, again, ladies and gentlemen, if you go back it up in history, right, we weren't always able to grab a photo of somebody. So someone invented the camera, right? And then someone invented the ability to develop a image into a photograph, a physical photograph. But to be fair, that process is capturing what you're saying is, I'm trying to keep up with you here, a scalar, a unique scalar identity of that person, just in a physical printed form.
Yes.
So it's literally grabbing a still moment of energy at that point in time.
Yes, precisely. Precisely.
I'm just trying to
now
meet everybody halfway for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the point here? Well, we can provide quantum health by way of a photograph with this clean energy and work with millions of people a day, pennies on the dollar, and achieve the result that we want. These instruments are dependable. They can break down the molecular bonds of a microbe, a bacterium, or a virus. So we achieve our results. We can destroy a microbe. We can work with 5 million people a day by way of a photograph. It's safe, it's easy, it's painless, and you don't have to leave your home.
So does the sun give off scalar energy because that's also a star?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you say then, because that's the closest star, that it gives off a more concentrated dose? I'm trying to help for people listening. I'm trying to connect on that whole, right? There's a UV density coming off the sun, for example. And again, different light, different energy spectrum. But I'm just trying to see, like, trying to comprehend the star energy, right? Because there's different distances. And now we're used to tracing this stuff by the speed of light. Well, the stars are giving off light. And so scalar energy is light, is that light.
Yeah. Now, keep this in mind. Scalar energy does not know any time barrier, any space barrier. So what? All stars communicate and, if you will, interlink simultaneously. So whether it's the sun of our solar system or Alpha Centauri or a star a million light years away, that's instantaneous communication. All stars communicate with planet Earth instantaneously.
Because they're at that quantum field or that quantum level.
They're at that quantum field.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, like, if you have never heard of quantum energy or the quantum field or just it's a big rabbit hole to go down. I mean, not for this episode, but I'm just trying to help get there, right, for you, for your benefit, Tom, because there's people out here that like, they're not at that point in the timeline yet of knowledge. Right. And even I'm not that far down as you are, but I'm like, okay, I've at least done a little bit of reading, done a little research, right? Picking up on what quantum energy is and the quantum field and the quantum domains, so to speak. So just trying to keep everything at that comprehension level. So, but I'm sure you've been here before.
And in deference, I realize this is a new subject. So education is the key.
So what are some ways that you've helped? Because again, people hearing this, right? Like, oh my God, thanks to the quantum energy field, we could literally, like you're saying, connect through just a photograph, because that's a captured signature unique to us. That is like, no photograph is technically the same. Even if you try and photocopy it or do whatever, right? That wouldn't work, right?
No, a photocopy would work because it's still our source of light. So you can make 10,000 copies of an original photograph. It's still me. It's still my unique signature.
Even if you go from color to black and white, still doesn't matter, right? Because the image is still the same.
The signal remains, correct.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
And what if it's been photographed like 1,000 times? Because again, because scalar energy is perpetually limitless, it doesn't matter if it's even like blurry or anything, because that's still your signature.
Exactly. Whether it's blurry to our naked eye observation, it doesn't matter, because it's an energy field that remains, that's perpetual. Very good.
So how are you then now? Because I got to go down that pathogen route, right? And we're going deeper into the health stuff now. How are you figuring out the pathogen? How are you identifying a pathogen? Because it has its own unique signature?
Yeah, exactly. So I take photographs of pathogens. This is the photograph of the herpes virus.
Okay.
And I actually place a photograph of the herpes virus alongside a photograph of a person.
Okay.
So the energy field of herpes enters into my energy field. If I had herpes, this energy field would identify herpes and destroy it. All I need is a definition of the microbe, which is light, by way of a photograph. A photograph allows me to identify that microbe and destroy it. So all I need is a photograph of a microbe to guarantee the destruction of a microbe.
Wait, so it will kill itself?
Yes, yes.
So you
Yes.
don't need.
It's an energy
Interesting.
field. It negates itself. So if I use this energy field, that quantum field, by way of a photograph of the herpes virus, and I identify that in my quantum field, this photograph of the herpes virus would destroy herpes in me.
Okay.
It's all done by way of energy recognition. So I have photographs, thousands of photographs of microbes, and I simply instruct those photographs of microbes to identify microbes in people and destroy them.
So have you done, because nowadays in the health and medical world, right, it's all about a true double blind, clinical trials. Does that exist in this world? Like, is there a way to do that?
You can't, because you can't measure the energy, and the recipient is always a quantum field, a photograph. I don't work with people. I work with a quantum field on a photograph. So there is no scientific protocol for this. The only way I can prove it is how people feel. I'm going to,
please keep going. Yeah.
I've been working with HIV AIDS groups throughout the world, notably in Delhi, India, and in Tanzania. And after I receive photographs of people who are HIV positive, I have great results. And after I treat their photograph, people report to me that they feel great, that they no longer have any viral load for HIV.
Okay. So if you execute on your scalar energy principles, like you just said, are you guys starting to document this in a way, like creating your own a scalar energy clinical trial? Because in order to add validity to this, because again, initially anybody hearing or seeing this who's never heard of this stuff before is going to think it's hokey BS, right? So fine. Yes. How do we make this, like you said, right, with your research, how do we make this legitimate? Well, fine. We're going to have to find a way to do, testing before. You definitely have the virus. You definitely have HIV. You definitely have herpes, whatever it may be. Okay, now, is it weeks, months, or is it instantaneous later, whatever it is? Now we do the further testing, follow up, and like, well, it's gone, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, here's something interesting. Is it instantaneous? Does it take multiple treatments? What's involved with that?
It's instantaneous, because a scalar instruction is always an instantaneous timeline. There is no time lag. Now, it only takes an instant to break down the molecular bonds of a germ, a microbe, in this case HIV, and destroy it. So only one session is needed to eradicate HIV.
Now, did they know this back when Tesla was doing this research, like getting going, or no? He wasn't playing with this stuff yet.
Well, let's face it. Tesla at that time, at the turn of the century, did not have an electron microscope. I do, so to speak. I have access to these photographs. But Tesla saw this potential, and he knew scalar energy could be used for health measures. I can't accentuate this enough. His work was stifled. Yeah. And much of his work, we're just starting to uncover what he did. At the day he died, Tesla's office was raided by the federal government of the United States.
Which there's already documented evidence of that. Yes. I mean, we know that for sure too.
They stole all of his notes.
Okay.
They were intimidated by him.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to connect to this, but it's almost, I don't know, anybody's ever heard of like the whole Area 51 thing? Dude, they've released already proof, like we've hidden things, captured things, keep it on lock and key until they feel that it's okay for mankind to possibly accept the understanding of what was going on. They're worried about keeping people freaked out, or to your point, they just didn't want you knowing, whatever it may be. So we know this stuff goes on. It's okay. This is not BS. So where or when did, I think it's Hieronymus, is that how you say it?
Hieronymus, yes.
Yeah. So he jumps in later in life, right? He's the next stage of inventor after him?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Hieronymus was for a time working with the United States government. Okay. And Hieronymus was able to take an aerial photograph from the U.S. Army and pinpoint the location of soldiers or tanks or munitions on that photograph. So that photograph served as a, if you will, identification of people and weapons. The Army was very interested in what he was doing. Hieronymus also worked with the Apollo 11 astronauts and Apollo 8. He secured photographs from NASA, and he was able to treat and monitor the biorhythms of the astronauts while they were orbiting the moon.
Well,
And
to
he
your point,
presented this.
scalar energy is infinitesimal, right? It's everywhere. So
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
doesn't matter if there's atmosphere or oxygen or not. So to be
and-
fair, if somebody was, let's say we finally get our trip to the Mars, right?
Yeah.
They could technically monitor the people remotely based on the quantum energy field via photographs.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So there's no impediment to this energy. You can monitor anything in the universe at an instant. There's no timeline.
So how are you getting this stuff documented, evidence established? Because that's the biggest thing, right? Is you got to be racking your brain. I mean, how do we establish validity?
Testimonies. Why? Okay. Because there is no scientific
perfect time
protocol.
To share your site. Keep going. Because I'm on it, ladies and gentlemen, on a site right now, again, scalarlight.com. And he does have a section for what's Scalar Energy, and right there is testimonials. So, but yeah, keep going.
Now, what's the point? There is no scientific protocol. This is a new and emerging science. And obviously, if you tell the scientific community, well, I treat people with a photograph, well, that's not the end result. The end result is not the photograph. The end result is the person. So those testimonies are the end result for people. So it's going to be difficult to prove this energy and that it does work. But, if you start looking at all of these testimonies, thousands of testimonies from around the world, that's the beginning evidence.
I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
So basically your site's becoming a catalog, obviously, of the testimonial process. Now, do you have, again, so obviously to get a strong testimonial, this is just people's feedback, but then is everybody then have to agree to, or do you actually reach out to them and say, hey, would you actually help reinforce this by going back and getting an actual test done to prove that whether it may be cancer is cured or whatever? And again, are we allowed to use the word cured right now? I know there's all kinds of rules on that stuff. So I don't want to upset your branding. So
no, it's okay. You can use that word because I don't work with people.
Right.
All of my comments refer to force fields on photographs, which has never been defined. Anyway, long story short, we ask people, I can't mandate this, we ask people to provide like a PCR test. And there's many PCR tests that we're receiving for herpes, HIV, Epstein-Barr, in which people at one time in their life were infected. After the scalar energy sessions, there's no viral load. That tells the story. But that has to be repeated hundreds of thousands of times.
Sure, it takes a serious commitment. I mean, do you guys have like an inner circle of either volunteers or patients that have chosen to stay with this to help establish a longer timeline?
Yes. And that, if you will, groundswell of support increases on a monthly basis.
Nice.
But nonetheless, I can't emphasize enough, there is no scientific protocol to prove this. So at the end of the day, this new science will only be proven as to how people feel.
Well, I make the joke, and actually other influencers in, whether it be the ketogenic health space, right, the carnivore space, doesn't matter. They're guys like, listen, if nothing else is working, give yourself your own N1 experiment, right? And if everything's working, then who cares what anybody else thinks, right? If you're healthy, you're fit, you're not overweight anymore, you don't have heart disease, diabetes, which is like pretty much half of this freaking country nowadays. It's like, okay, take accountability for your health, make your own N1 experiment, and prove it to yourself. I mean, now granted, I don't recommend people doing this with drugs and other things, right? We're talking about a healthy step forward in your life cycle, not a negative one. So what is your call to action for people? Like how are you moving this messaging forward besides hopping on my podcast and many other to talk about things that people have never heard about before?
Yeah. It's grassroots. That's it.
Okay.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not aligned with government, big business, academia, big media, because frankly, they don't like what I'm doing. I upset the apple cart.
Sure.
Scalar energy is a threat to the military industrial complex. This technology will make obsolete much of the technology in use today. So it's all people power. It's a grassroots movement. I thank you for allowing me to speak on your channel. And how do I prove this? Well, I tell people to visit our website. We offer 15 days of free sessions. Prove it to yourself. And if it does work, then share it with family and friends.
Well, I love that you actually right here, you made sure it's very clear. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sharing the homepage, but era of quantum healing, right? So again, we've already talked about, again, we're taking at the quantum level of comprehension here. This is a deep hole to go down, ladies and gentlemen. And that is technically falls under the science field. But to your point, right? This is so new, so grassroots. I never actually had anybody ever before talk about quantum energy in relation to health. Like you're the first one to even go to that level with me. So my brain's breaking, which is good. That's why I remind people, like, you're supposed to put yourself into awkward discussions and awkward situations in life, adventures, etc. I'm an adrenaline junkie, but like in this case, think about it from also a knowledge standpoint. Can't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, thank you.
Like think about it, like, well, I'm not asking you to go to a doctor, air quotes, go get something injected into your body. To be fair, we're talking about a photograph.
Yes.
With a quantum signature.
Exactly.
Like you're literally not physically touching anybody.
Correct. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So no harm can come.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not a chemical process.
We can't jump over that. Is there a chance of harm? And no, from the scalar light field, right? Because again, back to the electromagnetic field, there's harmful bands of light and energy spectrums, right? So I didn't even, I almost skipped over that. Can scalar light be used in a negative way?
Not that I've experienced with my instruments, no. Now, Tesla theorized that this energy was so powerful that someday somebody could use it for weaponry as a pulsation of energy.
Well, everything throughout history of modern manufacturing and industrial era, we always find a way to make something a weapon.
Yeah. And we're not going to go down that pathway tonight because I have nothing to do with the military.
No. Well, I could tell that. So, I mean, actually let's revert back to the core of your messaging. Scalar light, it's everywhere. You chose, so healing and health, is that your primary core mission here?
At the time being, yes.
Okay. So you decided, hey, man, go ahead.
If God gives me the wisdom, then we'll move on to anti-gravity.
Okay.
You can negate gravity with scalar energy. And once you do that, then you have the perfect transportation.
And did Hieronymus get into that or no? He didn't get that far.
Yes, he did. He was levitating objects.
You said that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So and that was something that Tesla hadn't gotten to yet. But then we don't have evidence of it, right? Yeah. They seized all of his stuff. So and then Hieronymus did. And then did his evidence disappear too, or no? Is his stuff at least captured?
No, luckily I met his wife, and I never met him, but I was able to purchase many of his instruments, and I was able to view many of his notes, and that really gave me a head start in this.
And then are you? And how long ago was that?
Oh, back in '93, I met Sarah Hieronymus.
Have you been able to improve upon his instruments? Yeah. Obviously, this many years later. I mean, technology, engineering, etc.
Yes.
And then, are those instruments replicatable or at a scalable level, or is it meant to keep them more focused in your world? I don't know.
I don't want to manufacture these for two reasons. First and foremost, I can't trust this in the hands of anybody. They could re-engineer this to harm.
Well, back to your point, right? Could be turned into, if you have limitless energy, that's a big weapon.
You're right. You become king of the universe. Let's just be blunt about this. If you have a miniature star, there's like nothing you cannot do. So I for the sake of safety, I won't release the plans, and I just want to stay as a researcher. I don't want to get into manufacturing.
Okay. Wow. If I had that's a long form podcast. If you ever want to go even deeper, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I've gone maybe over an hour here and there, but I mean, that's a long conversation. I could tell you could probably talk about this stuff so much deeper than you have. So do you have a
Yes.
core team and all too, by the way, right? People
We do.
helping reinforce what you're doing.
Yes, we have agents around the world on 3 continents helping us promote this work and at least presenting it to a wide audience. It takes time.
Yes.
People have never heard of this. This has never been done before, well, perhaps with the exception of Hieronymus and Tesla, but much of their work is obscured or has been undermined. So we have to start over is what I'm getting.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, unfortunately, you got to have to reestablish a foundation that also hopefully does not get covered up or wiped out, and that can hopefully be sustained so your core team and future followers can help reinforce the research and hopefully get it more scientifically documented. Would you say then, I mean, just for fun, because we're talking about so many different generations over the years now, 90s and before that. So do you think we have a chance of keeping this more on the forefront today? Do you think
I do.
It's more open now?
Because of podcasts like yours. Remember, Tesla did not have the internet. And Tesla was systematically undermined because obviously the Rockefellers controlled the media back then as they do today. But at least we have this undercurrent of movement of podcasts, of people like you who are not beholden to the Rockefellers.
I tell people all the time. I've had, again, as we're not recording, I have almost 400 shows online. We're not slowing down. And I said, here's my thing. I can't knock anything until I try it. Now, again, does that mean I'm going to go do cocaine? No, I'm anti-drug. My point is that if this is possibly our future, let's at least talk about it. Right? Yeah. Because I don't know. I don't understand it. So I need to hear from somebody like you. Now, granted, people may hear this show and say, what the heck? Where is Tom coming from? I'm like, cool. But people have done that to me when I tell them I'm pretty much a big time carnivore. I'm like, that's just my choice. People say that about vegans and vegetarians and everything else. I'm like, listen, I tell people, you do you. If quantum energy, quantum healing, and the quantum domain, as you hearing this, tweaks your brain and gets you excited, then great, go down the rabbit hole. Go figure it out. If this is not exciting to you and you're not ready for it, then go listen to another podcast. It's okay. We're just putting some new messaging out there and seeing if there's a percentage of the populace that aligns with what you guys are trying to uncover and grow and figure out. So
thank you.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, why not? That's a logical way of going about it.
That's how I look at it. Like I said, I'm my own N1 experiment. I'll figure stuff out on my own if I have to. That's how I do things. So I can't trust the powers that be on everything in life. So, well, listen, this has been great. You literally triggered so many things in my brain. It was awesome. And that's how I like to do. That's why I keep this an open format show. That's why you're a guest co-host and you're not being interviewed, because I want us to have a real conversation and be intelligent about it. Like, I want the old school debate clubs to come back from back in the day when you actually have intelligent conversations and okay to differ on opinions, things like that. Right. It's like, let's have intelligent, calm, educated conversations.
Prompt critical thinking. Very good.
Yeah. Well, again, to your point, this platform that you're trying to build out, it needs education. That takes time. Takes time. Open platforms, open formats. So, well, listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye out there. Ladies and gentlemen, scalarlight.com. Check it out. All right. You never heard of quantum healing? Dig deeper. You got Tom Paladino here. He's got a big movement. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. I mean, it sounds like he's already done a lot of work too, but if you're interested in digging deeper and figuring this out and see if it's real, hey, great. And let me know, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you dig deeper into this and you end up becoming a testimonial, cool. Let me know. I'll bring it back on the show. All right. I would love to do a follow-up on this and see what else is going on out there. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, scalarlight.com, Tom Paladino. What is the best place to follow you besides the website? Where are you pushing most of your content?
On the website, because things are so esoteric. Now, at the bottom of the website, you'll see our social media posts, but start with the website because we have articles. You have to start somewhere. So it's that educational footing that I want to present.
Okay. And good job, because as a sales and marketing consultant, I remind people, social media is great, but they have their own algorithms. And one day you're kicking it, and the other day you can be knocked down. One thing you have control over is your website and your email list. That is your core. That's your headquarters. Everything else reinforces that. So, So you're doing anything right. Good job, Tom.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. And by the way, social media does not like me. Imagine that. The
Gee,
algorithms
yeah, I
are
wonder why.
against me.
Because you're
So
going against the common code.
the status quo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The powers that be do not want free energy. Free energy will benefit mankind. It will not benefit the cabal.
Yep. I agree. Look, hang tight. Probably goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another new and very unique Live the Fuel podcast show. Again, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Tom Paladino, scalarlight.com. Remember, you're always welcome to live the fuel, ladies and gentlemen, because that's my lifestyle, and I hope you actually get inspired to do the same. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.